The galaxy was a big and busy place. Thousands of species lived among the stars. They traded with each other, fought with each other, and sometimes ignored each other. But one thing they all agreed on was simple. Humans were not important. Humans were small. Humans were weak. Humans lived short lives on a single blue planet far from the center of galactic civilization. They had only recently discovered how to travel between stars. Most species looked at humans the way a person might look at an ant. Interesting, perhaps, but not worth worrying about. The Empire was one of the oldest and most powerful forces in the galaxy. They had conquered 17 species over 10,000 years. Their warriors stood nearly 3 meters tall. Their bodies were covered in thick green scales. Their mouths held 3 rows of sharp teeth that could bite through metal. They were predators in every sense of the word. They took what they wanted, and no one stopped them. When scouts found a small human research station on the edge of their territory, the Empire saw an opportunity. The station was called Horizon 7. It floated on a cold moon far from Earth. Only 12 humans lived there. They were scientists who studied rocks and air and strange alien plants. They had no weapons. They had no soldiers. They were perfect targets. The warship arrived on a Tuesday morning, station time. Was working in the main laboratory when the alarm started screaming. She was 28 years old, born in the coastal city of On Earth. She had black hair that she kept tied back and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She was which meant she studied alien life forms. She had spent the last 3 years on Horizon 7, and she loved her work. She did not love the sound of alarms. "What is happening?" she asked, looking up from her microscope. A young researcher who had arrived only 2 months ago ran into the lab. His face was pale with fear. "A ship," he said, his voice shaking. "A warship. They are landing." Felt her heart beat faster, but she did not let fear show on her face. She had read about She had studied their biology, their culture, their language. She knew what they did to species they conquered, but panicking would not help anyone. "Gather everyone in the main hall," she said calmly. "Do not run, do not scream. Walk slowly and stay together." The research team assembled in the main hall just as the station doors exploded inward. Smoke and dust filled the air. Through the cloud came the warriors, their scales gleaming under the emergency lights. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Their leader walked at the front. His name was, he was old for his scales from 100 battles. One of his eyes was missing, replaced by a glowing red implant. He had killed more enemies than he could count. He looked at the humans with the same expression a wolf might give a group of rabbits. "Kneel," he commanded in his own language. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. Most of the humans did not understand him. They looked at each other in confusion, but understood. She had spent many nights studying transmissions, learning their words and their ways. She did not kneel. Noticed her immediately. She was the only one standing straight, the only one whose eyes met his without looking away. This annoyed him. He was used to prey that trembled and begged. This small creature showed neither fear nor respect. "I said kneel," repeated, stepping closer to her. "I heard you," replied Imperfect. "I chose not to." The warriors looked at each other in surprise. A human speaking their language was strange enough. A human refusing an order was unthinkable. Smiled, showing all 3 rows of his teeth. He would enjoy breaking this one. But first, he needed to show the others what happened to those who resisted. He turned and grabbed by the throat, lifting the young man off the ground with one hand. Made a choking sound. His feet kicked uselessly in the air. His face began to turn red, then purple. "This is what happens," announced loudly, "to species that do not obey." He expected the other humans to scream. He expected them to beg for their friend's life. He expected the woman who spoke his language to fall to her knees and plead for mercy. Instead, set down the tablet she was holding. She removed her glasses and placed them carefully on a nearby table. Her movements were slow and deliberate, like someone preparing for a task they had done many times before. "Put him down," she said quietly. Laughed, the sound echoed through the hall. "Or what, little creature, what will you do?" Did not answer with words. She moved faster than thought possible. One moment she was standing 3 meters away. The next moment she was beside him, her hand striking the soft joint of his elbow. She had studied anatomy for years. She knew exactly where their bodies were weak. The joint cracked. His arm went limp, fell from his grip, gasping for air, caught the young researcher and pushed him gently toward the other humans. Then she turned back to face, placing herself between her team and the invaders. Roared in pain and rage. His arm hung uselessly at his side. He had never been hurt by prey before. He had never been hurt by anything so small. His remaining hand came up, claws extended, ready to tear this human apart. But did not step back. She did not flinch. She tilted her head slightly to one side, studying him the way she might study a new specimen in her laboratory. "Do you want to attempt that again?" she asked. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were steady. She looked at him without any fear at all. And for the first time in his very long life, felt something cold move through his chest. It took him a moment to recognize what it was. It was doubt. The warriors stood frozen in the smoky hall. None of them moved. None of them knew what to do. They had conquered 17 species across 10,000 years, and in all that time they had never seen anything like this. A small, soft creature had just broken their commander's arm, and now she was standing in front of them, waiting, as if daring them to try again. Cradled his injured arm against his chest. The pain was sharp and hot, but the shock was worse. He stared at the human woman with his one good eye, trying to understand what had just happened. She was tiny. She weighed perhaps 60 kilograms. She had no claws, no fangs, no scales. Her skin was soft enough to cut with a dull blade. How had she hurt him? "What are you?" he asked. His voice was quieter now, uncertain. Did not answer immediately. She watched him the way a scientist watches an experiment. Her body was relaxed but ready. Her breathing was slow and even. Behind her, the other humans were helping to his feet. The young man was coughing but alive. "I am finally said. "I study life forms, including yours." Warriors shifted nervously. One of them, a younger soldier named, raised his weapon. "Commander, let me kill her. She is just one human." "No," said sharply, "do not move." He was beginning to understand something. The way this woman stood, the way she watched them, the way she had moved when she attacked. She was not acting like prey. She was acting like something else entirely. On most worlds there were two kinds of animals. There were predators who hunted and killed, and there were prey who ran and hid. There were predators. They had always been predators. They expected every other species to be prey. But humans did not fit into either category. Could see the confusion on his face. She had seen that look before, on the faces of other aliens who met humans for the first time. They always made the same mistake. They looked at human bodies and saw weakness. They did not understand what human minds could do. "Let me tell you something about my species," said, her voice calm and clear. "Millions of years ago on our home world we were not the strongest animals. We were not the fastest. We could not fly. We could not breathe underwater. Our teeth were flat. Our claws were small." She paused, making sure was listening. "But we had two things that no other animal had. We could run for hours without stopping, and we could think. We could plan. We could wait." Said nothing. His warriors listened in silence. "On Earth we hunted animals much larger than ourselves," continued. "We did not catch them with speed or strength. We followed them. We tracked them across plains and through forests. We chased them until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we killed them." She took one step forward, just one, but every in the room stepped back. "We are called persistence predators," said. "We do not stop. We do not give up. We do not get tired before our prey does. And when we finally catch what we are chasing, we are patient enough to wait for the perfect moment to strike. Felt the cold feeling in his chest grow stronger. He had hunted many species. He knew how predators thought. And now he realized that he had made a terrible error in judgment. He had walked into this station, thinking he was the hunter. He was wrong. Watched the understanding dawn on his face. She felt no pleasure in it. She did not enjoy violence. She did not enjoy causing pain. But she had learned long ago that sometimes the only way to protect the people you loved was to show your enemies exactly what you were capable of. She thought about her life on Earth. She thought about the years of training, the years of study, the years of hardship that had made her who she was. She had grown up in a city by the sea. She had learned Taekwondo from the age of 5. She had competed in tournaments, won medals, broken bones. She had learned that pain was just information and fear was just a feeling. Neither one had to control her. After university, she had joined research expeditions to the most dangerous places on Earth. She had tracked tigers in Siberia, surviving temperatures cold enough to freeze blood. She had studied sharks in the deep ocean, floating in darkness surrounded by ancient predators. Once, her research vessel had capsized in the Arctic. She had swum through freezing water for 40 minutes to reach the shore, then walked for 3 days to find help. Another time, in a desert far from civilization, she had broken her ankle when a rock shifted beneath her feet. She had splinted the bone herself using sticks and strips of cloth. Then she had walked 40 kilometers to the nearest village. She did not tell any of this. She did not need to. He could see it in her eyes. He could see the weight of experience, the calm of someone who had faced death many times and kept walking. Your species conquers through fear, said. You are big and loud and frightening. You expect other creatures to run away or freeze in terror. That is how predators work on most worlds. She shook her head slowly. But we are not from most worlds. We come from a planet where everything tried to kill us. The weather tried to kill us. The animals tried to kill us. The land itself tried to kill us. And we survived all of it. We did not survive by being the strongest or the fastest. We survived by being the most stubborn creatures in the universe. His arm throbbed with pain. His warriors looked at him, waiting for orders. But he did not know what orders to give. Everything he knew about conquest and submission was useless here. What do you want? He asked finally. Allowed herself a small smile. I want you to understand something, she said. You came here thinking you would find easy prey, weak creatures who would kneel and beg, but you were wrong. You found humans instead. She looked at each of the warriors in turn, meeting their eyes one by one. We do not beg, she said. We do not kneel, and if you try to hurt my people again, I will show you exactly what a persistence predator can do. The silence stretched long and heavy. Looked at this small woman, this soft creature who should have been trembling at his feet, and he made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He lowered his weapon. We will wait, he said to his warriors. We will watch, and we will learn what these humans truly are. Nodded once. It was not victory, not yet, but it was a beginning. 3 days passed on Horizon 7, then 3 more, then 3 more after that. They did not leave. They could not leave because their commanders back home expected them to return with prisoners and proof of conquest. But they also did not attack. Something held them back, something they could not name or understand. It was the humans. Had ordered his warriors to surround the station and wait for reinforcements. He told them it was a tactical decision. He told them they needed more soldiers to overwhelm the human defenses. But deep in his heart, he knew the truth. He was afraid of what would happen if they tried to take the station by force. Inside the station organized her people. There were 12 of them in total, 12 scientists against 30 warriors. The numbers were bad. The weapons were worse. They had energy rifles and plasma grenades. The humans had tools designed for collecting rocks and studying plants. but was not worried about weapons. She was worried about time. "We sent a distress signal before they blocked our communications," she told her team. "Earth knows we are in trouble. Help is coming. We just need to survive until it arrives." The station's engineer was a quiet man with clever hands. He had grown up building things and taking things apart. Now he walked through the station, looking at every system with new eyes. "I can turn the ventilation into a weapon," he said. "If I redirect the nitrogen tanks, I can flood any corridor in the station with gas that will put them to sleep. It will not kill them, but it will give us time." "Do it," said. Nodded and got to work. He spent the next 6 hours crawling through maintenance tunnels, rewiring systems and connecting tanks. While he worked, he hummed old songs from his childhood. His hands were steady. His mind was clear. Fear was a luxury he could not afford. The station's medic had a different idea. "Is injured," she said. "His arm is broken badly. If it heals wrong, he might lose the use of it forever." Looked at her. "What are you suggesting?" "I am suggesting that we offer to help him." The other scientists looked shocked. Still wearing bruises on his neck from his grip, shook his head in disbelief. "Help him? He tried to kill me. He tried to conquer us. Why would we help him?" Was a soft-spoken woman with gentle eyes. She had become a medic because she believed in healing, not hurting. Even now, surrounded by enemies, she held onto that belief. "Because that is what makes us different," she said. "We do not let prisoners suffer, even prisoners who try to hurt us. If we become cruel, we become like them, and I refuse to become like them." Thought about this for a long moment, then she nodded. "You are right," she said. "Offer to treat his arm, show them who we are." Approached the camp under a white flag. The warriors watched her with suspicion, their weapons ready, but she walked calmly, showing no fear. When she reached, she bowed slightly. "I am a healer," she said in simple words that had taught her. "Your arm is hurt. I can help." Stared at her. In 10,000 years of conquest, no prey species had ever offered to help a warrior. It made no sense. It broke every rule he understood about how the universe worked. "Why?" he asked. "Because suffering is suffering," said. "It does not matter whose body holds the pain. I am a healer. Healing is what I do." Against the advice of his warriors, allowed to treat his arm. She cleaned the wound, set the bone properly, and wrapped it in a splint made from materials she had brought from the station. She worked carefully and gently, as if were any other patient. When she finished, moved his fingers experimentally. The pain was less. The arm felt more stable. "You are strange creatures," he said. Smiled. "We know." Back in the station, the other humans continued their strange routine. They ate meals at regular times. They slept in shifts. They played games to pass the time and keep their spirits up. The youngest member of the team was a botanist who studied alien plants. He was 24 years old and had a round face that made him look even younger. While they watched through the station windows, gathered the other humans in the recreation room and taught them a card game he had learned from his grandmother. "It is called Go Stop," he explained. "You match flowers and seasons. The rules are simple, but the strategy is deep." The humans played cards while armed aliens surrounded them. They laughed when someone made a good move. They groaned when someone made a bad one. They acted as if this were a normal day, as if death were not waiting just outside the walls. They could not understand it. The young warrior who had wanted to kill watched through a window with growing unease. "They are not afraid," he said to another soldier. "Why are they not afraid?" The other soldier had no answer. Day after day, the standoff continued. They waited for the humans to break. They waited for panic, for despair, for the collapse that always came when prey realized there was no escape. But the collapse never came. Instead, the humans made jokes. They exercised to stay strong. They held meetings to discuss plans and share information. They supported each other with kind words and helping hands. made sure everyone had a job, everyone had a purpose. She knew that the greatest danger was not the outside, it was the fear inside. If her people lost hope, they would lose everything. So she gave them hope by giving them work. "We are not victims," she told them every morning. "We are survivors, and survivors do what needs to be done." On the 9th day, asked to speak with Alone. She agreed, meeting him at the border between human and territory. They stood 3 meters apart, watching each other carefully. "Your people confuse me," admitted. "I have conquered many worlds. I have seen many species face defeat. They always react the same way. They cry, they beg, they turn on each other in desperation. But your people do none of these things." Nodded slowly. "You are right, we do not." "Why?" "Because we have faced worse," said simply. "Our history is full of disasters, wars, and suffering. Every generation of humans has faced something that should have destroyed us, but we are still here. We are still standing. Do you know why?" Shook his head. "Because when things are at their worst, humans become their best," said. "We help each other. We protect each other. We refuse to give up even when giving up would be easier. That is our secret. That is our strength." Looked at this small woman, this impossible creature who had broken his arm and then sent a healer to fix it. He thought about everything he had seen in the past 9 days. The card games, the laughter, the quiet courage that never wavered. "I am beginning to think," he said slowly, "that we made a very serious mistake coming here." Smiled. It was not a cruel smile or a victorious smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for exactly this moment. "Yes," she agreed, "you did." 14 days after the invasion, something appeared at the edge of the solar system, then another something, then another, then dozens more. The galactic community had never seen a human fleet mobilize. They had assumed it was impossible. Humans were scattered across dozens of colonies, separated by vast distances and different governments. They argued with each other constantly. They could never agree on anything. They were too divided, too chaotic, too individualistic to ever act as one. The galactic community was wrong. When the distress signal from Horizon 7 reached Earth, it spread like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every human colony knew that their people were in danger. Within days, ships began to move. Mining vessels left their asteroid fields. Research cruisers abandoned their experiments. Trading ships canceled their routes. Even the few military vessels that humanity possessed turned toward space. They came from everywhere. They came from Earth and Mars and the moons of Jupiter. They came from distant colonies at the far edges of explored space. They came because somewhere humans were in trouble, and when humans were in trouble, other humans came to help. This was something they had never expected. This was something no species in the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the fleet assemble around him. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and a face lined by decades of responsibility. He had spent his entire career preparing for a moment like this. He had he had planned for every scenario. And now, finally, his plans would be put to the test. "How many ships do we have?" he asked his second-in-command. 437, Admiral. More are on the way." Nodded slowly. It was not enough. The Empire had thousands of warships, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity could build. In a straight fight, the humans would lose, but had no intention of fighting straight. He recorded a message and broadcast it on every frequency. "This is Admiral of the United Human Fleet," he said. His voice was calm and steady, like a teacher explaining a simple lesson. "You have taken our people. You will return them, all of them, unharmed, and then we will discuss what happens next." The High Council received the message and laughed. They outnumbered the humans 100 to 1. They had conquered species far more powerful than these soft, short-lived creatures. They sent back a simple reply. "Come and take them." Read their response and smiled. "Begin the advance," he ordered. The human fleet moved forward. It did not move quickly. It did not need to. Speed was not the weapon intended to use. His weapon was something far more dangerous. His weapon was time. Human ships operated in rotating shifts. While one crew slept, another took their place. The ships never stopped. They never slowed down. They pushed forward hour after hour, day after day, like a tide that could not be turned back. They sent a fleet to intercept them. It was a large fleet, with ships that the humans in every way. The commander expected an easy victory. He expected the humans to see his force and retreat. The humans did not retreat. They engaged the fleet in a series of small, quick battles. They did not try to win. They did not try to destroy the enemy ships. They just kept them busy. They attacked and never giving them a moment of rest. Biology required long sleep cycles. After 3 days of constant combat, the crews were exhausted. Their reflexes slowed. Their judgment weakened. Mistakes began to happen. The humans kept coming. On the 5th day, the commander made an error. His tired mind miscalculated an angle, and 3 of his ships collided with each other. The explosions lit up the darkness of space. On the 7th day, half the fleet to resupply and rest. They had no choice. Their crews could not function any longer. On the 10th day, the remaining ships found themselves surrounded by fresh human forces that had arrived from the colonies. The commander surrendered. News of the defeat spread through the empire like a disease. For the first time in 10,000 years, a fleet had lost a battle. Not because they were outmaneuvered. They had lost because they got tired and the humans did not. The High Council began to worry. Admiral pressed forward. His fleet grew larger as more ships arrived. He did not stop to celebrate his victory. He did not stop for anything. He had one goal: reach Horizon 7 and bring his people home. The Empire sent more fleets to stop him. 3 times they tried, 3 times they failed. The pattern was always the same. The humans would engage them in constant, wearing combat. They would fight well at first, then they would slow down, then they would make mistakes, then they would lose. "What are these creatures?" one admiral asked his staff after his own defeat. "Why do they not get tired?" No one had an answer. Back on Horizon 7, and her team watched the reports coming in from hidden receivers had built. They saw the human fleet advancing. They saw the falling back. They saw something that most species in the galaxy thought was impossible. They saw humanity winning. "They came for us," said quietly. His voice was thick with emotion. "They all came for us." "Of course they did," said. "That is what humans do. We do not leave our own behind." Also received reports from his commanders. He read them with growing disbelief. The Empire was losing, not just one battle, but many battles. The humans were pushing deeper into space than any enemy had ever reached. And they were not stopping. On the 17th day, gathered his warriors and made an announcement. "We are surrendering," he said. His warriors stared at him in shock, did not surrender. In 10,000 years of conquest, no force had ever surrendered to anyone. Commander protested, "We cannot, the dishonor." "The dishonor is already complete," interrupted. "We came here as conquerors. We thought we were hunters, but we were wrong. These humans are not prey, they are something else entirely, something we have never faced before." He looked toward the station, where the humans continued their daily routines as if nothing unusual were happening. "If we fight them now, we will die," continued. "Not because they are stronger, not because they are faster. We will die because they will never stop coming. They will chase us until we collapse. That is what they do. That is what they are." He lowered his weapon and placed it on the ground. "I would rather live with dishonor than die from stubbornness," he said. "Surrender." One by one, the warriors laid down their weapons. When received word of the surrender, she did not celebrate. She did not gloat. She simply nodded once and said, "Bring them inside. Make sure they are fed and comfortable." Looked at her in surprise. "You want to take care of them after everything they did?" Smiled softly. "We won," she said. "Now we show them what winning means to humans. It does not mean revenge. It does not mean cruelty. It means mercy, because we can afford to be merciful, because we are strong enough to choose kindness." She looked out the window at the stars. "That is the difference between us and them, and that is why we will always win in the end." The rescue ships arrived on a cold morning, 21 days after the invasion began. Admiral was the first to step onto the station. He was an old man with tired eyes, but those eyes brightened when he saw the research team standing in the main hall, alive and unharmed. Behind them stood 30 warriors, their weapons gone, their pride broken. "Doctor, I assume," said, extending his hand. Shook it firmly. "Admiral, thank you for coming. Thank you for surviving." He looked at them with curiosity. "I received reports, but I was not sure I believed them. You actually convinced them to surrender." "They convinced themselves," said. "I just helped them see the truth." Nodded slowly. He had commanded fleets and won battles, but he understood that the real victory had happened here, in this small station, where 12 scientists had faced an impossible situation and refused to break. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Empire, the ancient predators who had never lost a war, had been defeated by humans. Not just defeated in battle, but defeated in a way that changed everything they believed about themselves. Became something unusual among his people, a teacher. He traveled to schools and military academies, telling his story to young warriors who thought they understood what strength meant. "I was the greatest hunter of my generation," he would say. "I had killed more enemies than anyone alive, and then I met a human woman who weighed 60 kilograms and had never held a weapon in her life. She broke my arm in 6 seconds, and do you know what she did after that?" The young warriors would lean forward, expecting to hear about revenge or torture. "She sent a healer to fix it," would say. "She showed me mercy when she had every reason to be cruel. That is when I understood. The humans are not strong because they can hurt you. They are strong because they can choose not to." The Empire did not collapse from military defeat. It collapsed from something far more powerful, an idea. The idea that strength meant more than violence. The idea that winning meant more than destruction. The idea that mercy was not weakness but the greatest power of all. Within 10 years, the Empire dissolved into a loose collection of independent systems. Many of those systems sought alliances with humanity. They wanted to learn what humans knew. They wanted to understand how a species could face extinction and choose kindness instead of hate. Returned to Earth as a hero, but she did not enjoy the attention. She gave a few speeches, accepted a few awards, and then quietly returned to her work. She opened a new research institute dedicated to studying alien life forms, but more importantly, to building bridges between species. "We have a chance," she said in her final public speech, "to show the galaxy what humanity can be. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but teachers and healers and friends. We can show them that intelligence does not have to mean cruelty, that power does not have to mean oppression, that the strongest thing any species can do is choose to help instead of hurt." Became her assistant, and later her partner in running the institute. He never forgot the feeling of his hand around his throat, but he also never forgot the feeling of standing between him and death, small and calm and absolutely unafraid. Continued building things. He designed new ships and new stations and new tools for exploration. Everything he built had one feature in common, an emergency shelter that could protect a small crew indefinitely. He never wanted anyone to face what his team had faced without a place to hold out and wait for help. Opened a hospital that treated any species, no matter their origin or history. Warriors came to her with old wounds and older guilt. She healed them all, asking nothing in return except that they pass the kindness forward. Kept teaching card games to anyone who would learn. He believed that the simplest way to build peace was to sit across from someone and play. When you played games together, you stopped seeing species. You started seeing people. On the 10th anniversary of the rescue, a monument was built on Horizon 7. The station had been repaired and expanded, becoming a symbol of everything that had happened there. Thousands of visitors came from across the galaxy to see it. The monument showed a human figure standing alone. It was small, unarmed, with no claws or fangs or armor. It faced a towering shape meant to represent all the predators and conquerors of the universe. The human figure was not running. It was not hiding. It was standing straight, head tilted slightly to one side. The inscription read, "Do you want to attempt that again?" Below it in smaller letters, "Dedicated to all who face the darkness and chose to be the light that does not blink." Attended the dedication ceremony. She stood in front of the monument for a long time, remembering the fear she had felt that first day. The fear she had hidden so carefully behind calm eyes and steady hands. The fear that had never gone away because courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was feeling afraid and standing firm anyway. Stood beside her. His arm had healed completely. The scar was still visible, a permanent reminder of the day his understanding of the universe changed forever. "I have a question," he said quietly, "one I have wanted to ask for 10 years. Ask. That day when you faced me alone, when you broke my arm and stood between me and your people, were you afraid?" Looked at the monument, at the small human figure facing an impossible threat. "I was terrified," she admitted. "My heart was beating so fast I thought it would explode. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely control them. Every part of me wanted to run." Looked surprised. "But you seemed so calm, so confident. I truly believed you felt no fear at all." Smiled, the same soft smile that had confused him so many years ago. "That is the human secret," she said. "We feel fear just like everyone else, but we do not let it decide for us. We feel it, we acknowledge it, and then we do what needs to be done anyway. That is what makes us who we are." She turned to look at him directly. "You asked me once what humans are. I told you we are persistence predators, but that is only part of the answer. The full answer is this. We are the species that looks at impossible odds and refuses to accept them. We are the species that feels fear and keeps walking. We are the species that falls down 100 times and gets up 101. She looked back at the monument. "That is why we will always survive. That is why we will always win in the end. Not because we are stronger or faster or smarter than everyone else, but because we simply refuse to give up. No matter how bad things get, no matter how dark the night becomes, we keep going. We keep trying. We keep hopping." Was silent for a long moment. "Your species frightens me," he finally said, "but not in the way I expected. You frighten me because you give me hope. Hope that even an old predator like me can learn to be something better." Reached out and took his hand. His scales were rough against her soft skin. Neither of them pulled away. "That is what humans do," she said. "We do not just survive, we help others survive too. We light candles in the darkness. We build bridges across gaps. We reach out our hands to those who were once our enemies and say, 'Come, walk with us.' The road ahead is long, but we do not have to walk it alone." The sun set over Horizon 7. The stars came out, one by one, filling the sky with light. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other species were watching. They were listening to stories about the humans, about the small creatures who did not run, about the soft people who chose mercy over revenge, about the impossible species that faced the greatest predators in the galaxy and asked, "Do you want to attempt that again?" The end.